Okay, we're back. And when we last left off, we made a little bit of progress. Got through a summation examination. Got through a testimony. Where, yeah, these guys are saying that the pawnbroker saying, "Give me the gun," was directed at Gina, who then shot him. But that would mean he was shot in the front and he was shot in the back. That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Winterbank was not holding a firearm of any description. Okay, maybe I was getting ahead of myself. Yeah? You what? God, Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Winterbank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that Multula used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam. Take that thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Ah, goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Is this the autopsy report?
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of, "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. Ah. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Oh, so you saw it now. Did I hear you right now? Did you hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Winterbank holding a gun. Busted. Something like that might have slipped out. Wah. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. It can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash. These two are fun. Order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, we weren't supposed to. It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. That means a lot more coming from the Reaper of Old Bailey, you know. I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies. I'm ever so sorry, Governor. The truth is, cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. We blam now. You know what it'll do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Come on. The game's up. But my guts forgot us. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. Who will have your guts in for garters? The night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well... Do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Perfectly clear, Governor. Counter with the victim. Here we go. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. But old geezer, that bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. Oh, damn, Winterbank. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it for that door in the back room. Never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. What? What? So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Here goes. What are we going to get out of this?
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Winterbank. Now, who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. We never thought no one was going to come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery's storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. That doesn't make sense, does it? If Ginny had threatened Mr. Winterbank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? That is quite interesting indeed. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What, that Mortuller? Couldn't tell ya. No way, cobbler. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Winterbank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. No, did we? The truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Winterbank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Winterbank with a gun at the time. Is that right? It is, Gov. It is. Spot on. And all of a sudden he came at us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean...
Hold it!
That's everything got knocked off the counter? Yes, I noticed that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a little box, a candlestick, and some skull, whatnot. I got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over them scales to the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Bro there went flying on that counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised in a local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There was a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right, when the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street. They ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Winterbank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. And then some.
Hold it!
Legged it into the back room, eh? Were you intending to shoot Mr. Winterbank? Nah, never. I was just, you know. Looking out for me, bruv, wasn't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then, the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yes, that's it. He shoved me away. And ran off through that door and shut himself in. Something about that last remark. I think it doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Winterbank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Ah, yeah, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Winterbank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Winterbank's hands again? I have no idea. That is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency should be significant. I should make a mental note of it. And look, the point is, me and me bruv here. Hi, Gregsy. That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and me bruv here. So that last statement's significant. You say you had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov. Nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was, because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. No. Would indeed appear so. What say you to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Winterbank? I don't know what the right answer is to this question. I want to say yes. It could have been. Mr. Skulkin. Eh? What? What's that look for? The moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face-to-face that night. The course of this trial changed completely. Yeah, it did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Winterbank? It is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel? You must now provide answers to the court in respect of 2 conundrums. 2, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed. Namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runo? I'm not entirely sure. There's one thing I am sure about. The proof that there's a credible new alternative to what happened. Changed Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. Believe someone else could have killed the victim. Indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. I don't actually have a record of where Ringo was. We're just gonna say here and hope that it was in
Take that!
Defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? He fled into the storeroom.
Take that!
Defense believes that the victim would have been in this position
Objection!
here. What your answers in fact show is that your own position is as absurd as those you have indicated on the plan. What are you saying? What? Lord Van Ziggs is saying, Counsel. Your answers are clearly flawed. Ah! Really? Knew it. It's twice as many chances to be wrong. Okay, I was relatively close, so let's put you here. I think the key is where we put Windbank. We'll put you here. I think the key is we put Windbank in the storeroom. There it is. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windbank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death. It tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him. Then he legged it through that door in the back room. Mr. Winterbank ran away through the door. We have to assume that the door was open at the time. Was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life. These brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? We're going to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Ringo? Oh man, I shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. Would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Winterbank.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten. The storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. You also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock. But if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Maybe Gina took the gun from Windabank, locked the door, and then fell asleep with the gun in her hands, fearing that they were under attack. About the Grand Council, please present your theory to the court. In the scenario just described, the defendant's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? Gina?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. Suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room. For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Just witness someone... yeah, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Ian, I can engineer reasoning that makes sense. She just heard a gunshot. She just saw Mr. Windabank fall over. She's probably terrified. So... half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. That almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Think, Runo, think. But if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean... those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh, yeah. Good point. Obviously. When those two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade, Mr. Windabank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point... Mr. Windabank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruh. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windabank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. What have we to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windabank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life. But I ain't. I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We'd never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. We do have a missing bullet now. Because if they shot Mr. Sholmes, they only shot one bullet. So they didn't shoot Mr. Windabank. There's only one logical conclusion here, so now we just wait for the inevitable Van Zeek's objection. Mr. Skulkin, your brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windabank's murder. Waiting on the objection? What does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known that it was the three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know. First time ever. And probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely nothing of a verdict of not... And... Oh, okay. An admirable effort, my learned friend. Huh? What's this now? He's laughing. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. He's not even dignifying us with an objection. I dare say, he just finds the whole thing laughable. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? Oh, come on, Van Zieks, cut out that crap. Just remind us that there was only one bullet fired. The hypothesis we put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zieks. Might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick, whatever it is, to the troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Bah! Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George! Count bullets! Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. Two. 2 bullets, sir. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if a single bullet was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Windibank not shot by same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Ah! So we find a way to explain the flaw. Order, order, order! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery. Ow, my face! Lord Van Zieks! But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. Truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbroker on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in its print which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc! I'll be taking that whatever it is from McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. No, don't! Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss. Anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Winterbank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. With none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add. Both by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious! Now, you're misunderstanding here. Make no mistake. Any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed. No crime she would not commit. Court forgets that fact at its peril. Uh-oh. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel. As a grim testament to the defendant's character. Oh? Lord Van Zeeks, Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What? Yes, Inspector? We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I'm unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. What are you so worked up about, Gregsy? The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed. Bailiff? Alright, music box disc. Note that reads, for McGilded. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. My lord. What if I might say something at this point? No. Okay, fine. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden... The answer's badly obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no, here we go. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Here we go again.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Alright, let's do this shit again. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. And you have eliminated the impossible. Whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that. For Hurley. Oh, how dare he use it against us. Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. Must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Winterbank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Guide-up squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, You will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. All right, here we go again. What's a rogue always a rogue, I say? Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. That's rich. If only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say that the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. Oh boy. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. Can see him in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. Alright, we need to talk to you. Would seem there is little remaining room for doubt. I have to admit I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. When that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris, the prosecutor's being mean. Because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past. Doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage, while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's the truth coming out. Eventually. That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Slap! Yes, my lord. Alright, let's do this. Fucking hell, John. What are you doing? Because Miss Lestrade has a history of pickpocketing, she must be guilty of murder. Is that what you're saying? Ah, well... Are all members of the British Army so quick to judge? I beg your pardon? Are you mocking Her Majesty's Armed Forces? The greatest military organization in the world? I'm mocking you, John. No, I'm simply illustrating my point. Well played. Making assumptions about people because they're a soldier or a pickpocket is wrong and dangerous. Well, yes, might have a point there, I suppose. But let's not forget the girl had already shown she had it in her from before. She's clearly a criminal sort through and through. Can't deny it. When you say that she'd shown she had it in her, are you referring to this? Exactly. Tried to swipe that only a day earlier. Or am I mistaken? You are mistaken. Not exactly. Given that I was actually there at the time, it's hard to refute that. I've never actually seen the real thing. I can't wait to have a closer look at it. Oh, yes, of course. Mr. Sholmes did use his caramel bars to make a copy of the disc, didn't he? Then ordered every type of music box he could find from across Europe. We still don't know what tune it plays, though, do we? But I'd love to see how the original compares to Hurley's copy. Gilded's disc? What makes me think we should E? Oh, right, we could shoot stuff at it. Oh, Runo, look! This is blood. Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Haha, then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Runo. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. Green? Ooh, a lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color? What is it? It's just that green. Sholmes? It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? That's interesting. I did not expect that. Former Gilded. That's the man you defended in court a couple of months ago, isn't it, Runo? Yeah, or rather, mistakenly defended. Wonder what his name is doing on the back of this disc? That's a question I'd love to know the answer to myself. Oh, I forgot. Been a while, but gamer keys. That's all we have to see. Could it be a clue somehow? Perhaps we should examine it in more detail.
Hold it!
It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited to the dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although... Yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose... if there was another bullet somewhere of which we have run aware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene? Could that be possible? Well, I can't prove it yet, so... Fortunately, only 2 bullets were discovered by the police during their investigation. Yes, I know. Right. I don't imagine the good men of Scotland Yard would have overlooked anything. If I missed a bullet while I was cleaning his lordship's office, well... I should receive a sound scolding, I don't doubt. And you should receive a visit from the police, perhaps. It sounds like a crime scene to me. A 3rd bullet. Would completely turn things around if there was one, wouldn't it? Do you think we might find one lying around somewhere?
Hold it!
So if I've understood correctly, you need 2 pictures, a left eye one and a slightly different right eye one. Exactly. Then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions. Like this. So if we had 2 bullets, I don't suppose you could see anything useful with them? I think you'll find. And no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same there. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well then, surely it's coming into focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon.
Hold it!
You and the juror number 6. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? Things that have nothing to do with this trial and yet have a shocking amount of things to do with this trial. By some bizarre coincidence. The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? Did you... I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on. What was that fellow's name now? Herlick? No. Herlock? No. Hairlock. No wonder he was having such a rough time of it. Herlock Sholmes, by any chance? Ah, yes, good lord. It was that Hairlock fellow. Oh boy. What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? That's right. Using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. Was a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. A little bit. Let me see, that fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. He said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. The funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... Yes? Sure, that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. counsel for the defense is correct. As is clearly shown in this photographic print, the bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged in the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. Unless there was no exit wound, I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally. Ha! Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake? No, you say that you checked his back? Of course I did, and there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullet had left the body at all. What? That's the point. The only logical conclusion was that the blood was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I set about slicing him up. I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery? It's not as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. Oh boy, we've got a lot going on here. We have a mystery bullet, we have a ballistics expert, and we have a surgeon. Mr. Sholmes' surgeon is on the jury. I've experienced some coincidences recently, but this is ridiculous. I'm surprised at anyone. There's no question that Mr. Sholmes was shot. Well, that's what the police told me when they brought him in. How bad were his injuries, Doctor? He was in a bad way. He lost a huge amount of blood, you know. And I suspect he was shot at quite close range, too. As his skin was badly burnt around the point of entry. Burnt? That's gonna be important. As I said, I flipped the fellow over and examined his back, but there was no sign of an exit wound. Which is why I thought I'd better locate the lug and pop it out. And yet you say you found no bullet inside the patient. But I wouldn't have done, would I? This is in the walls of the pawnbrokers. But how did it get there? I need someone to solve this mystery before it drives me to insanity. Only there was some expert in ballistics who could help, even if he looked extremely trustworthy. Nyeh, nyeh. So we have a disappearing bullet on our hands. We'll come back to you. We have a suspicious-looking ballistics expert. Oh shit, didn't mean to do that. Van Zix has managed to convince everyone. And you've made the impossible, he said. But he hasn't. We're going to fight back. We need more material. We have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Shut up, John. You... stereoscopes. Doctor.
Hold it!
I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, blood of, Aha! Extremely violent bloodbaths, perhaps? Those. Extreme violent bloodbaths. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There's nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Alright, well... I guess we'll do it this way.
Objection!
These two statements clearly contradict. Am I going to get penalized? The idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Ooh, a ballistics expert. Eating. P-I-T-T. The night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. Since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, let's assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, the bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And this situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound. Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. What? Good gracious. Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. What? But that's not the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop. Not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. You know. Where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. That's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals he uses in his investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital as far as I remember. If I may. Lord Van Zieks. When I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination, I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Oh, thank goodness! I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. And then it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to this case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well, while extremely unconventional during a summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents this item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that! One of the vials is broken and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the vial exploded. Exploded? So that night, a bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. And it was the glass vial exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shop. It's unfortunate because that means there's not a third bullet. A delightfully complex aroma. But it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth in this case. It's not wrong. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. Pertinent facts of this case remain unaltered. At least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester this scruffy pouch as evidence. How are these pouches in scruffy? It's a little scruffy. Now the summation examination. Back to business. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion. Please, my lord. A little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. Could be a valuable clue. You can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. There's still a way to turn this around. Somehow. I'm sure of it. We'll still get back to you, but... Gamer keys. These glass vials are full of Hurley's homemade potions. Homemade? Yes, like fingerprint powder to show up where people have touched things. And scent amplifying solution to intensify a smell lingering on an object. That's amazing. They're all very easy to use. They're just one thing that you have to be careful of. They're all very flammable. Mr. Sholmes is a walking bomb. He's passionate about finding out the truth or just oblivious to the dangers. Oh shit. Oh look, there's a hole here at the back. Doesn't look much like a bullet hole, but clearly something's ripped through the leather with great force. It must have pierced it somehow to left this hole behind. Yes, it looks that way. Mr. Sholmes and his pouch both took a beating, didn't they? This file has been smashed to pieces. Presumably, this is where the bullet struck. As soon as the bullet hit the chemical in that file, there would have been a really big explosion. A big explosion? The Hurley's potions and chemicals are amazingly useful for the investigation work he does. But they're also quite tricky to handle. Safely, at least. And they're very dangerous. Oh. I'm sure that when this file broke, the chemical inside would have ignited. Oh. Note to self. Always walk on the right-hand side of Sholmes in the future. Left is the danger zone. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken. Look. This must be where the bullet hit, then. Let me see. There it is. That's what I was seeing. What the? Iris, look! Behind where the broken file was. Do you see it? Ah! That's... the Skulkin brothers' bullet! What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is... third bullet! There were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet! It's time to press that juror again, I think. Let's do it. I can prove it. Allow me to show you then. The 3rd bullet. The 3rd bullet. Aptly named.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windibank's pawnbroker, where the bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to the hospital. And since then has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say? A shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. You already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. Ah! 2 guns in the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Winnebank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Ah! But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. Until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Yeah. Order! 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 While the summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which this case against the defendant has been built. As it is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. Oh. What does this mean? Hi, Gregsy. Witnesses? Governor! Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor. We was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of it, Gov. I can help it. Is it one of yours? Go blimey, Gov. Go blimey. Not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? Well, what? Hey? What? Never. The Skulkin brothers work alone. Just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. A 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Let me. That's a scratcher. Counsel for the defense. Yes? I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. Although I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. I reckon. On that night at Winnebank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a 3rd man. Witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of the accomplice. The evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun.
Objection!
Here we go. An accomplice, you say? Pig swill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. And in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a 3rd man. This apparently wraith-like being exists. The court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. Skulkins are lying, I know that. They've clearly given us shaky feelings that there's someone else here who will have their guts for garters if they talk too much. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Well, Counsel, I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity, even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, defense is... We have green blood. Green blood. Purple blood, vice-fired mason. Hornberger's ticket and coat, and the coat itself. Vice-fired mason, Pop Winterbank is blue. Unknown blue. If we know the people who are handling that, it's either McGilded or the guy who took possession of it. Defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, Counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, and the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene? Blood. Blood vibes. Blood vibes. Blood vibes.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. But which one is it? Well, it's one of these two. I'm just gonna go with this. This is the blood sample that proves it. It's not. The music didn't stop. You perplex me, Counsel, by looking so pleased with yourself despite this quite displeasing answer. Ah. You would do well to take your irrelevant specimens of blood and go back to whence you came. And I'll see to it that you go down in this court's history as an equally irrelevant specimen. Ah! That was unnecessarily savage. But I think it takes a certain genius to give such a completely wrong answer, personally. The kind of genius I could really do without. Time to think again. Well, let's go with this then.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain? Green blood. Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New invention. Stop. Not yet appeared in stories. Stop. It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements? Of people's blood? Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see. Because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting. Stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Winterbank. Ah, a striking blue. Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar show that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be for some unrelated incident, could it? Couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Winterbank was killed. By golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. A third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? Egg.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Winterbank's pawnbroker on the afternoon before the incident took place, when the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. Which she had a perfectly valid ticket for, by the way. That's right. Man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Broker? Yes, sir? I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. In the interest of being thorough, I asked Winterbank for a print showing the fella. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder, Gubbins's. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Winterbank that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice. Well, Mr. Skulkin? Never seen the geese before on me life. On me life, Guv, on me life. Never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof that this clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. Here we go. This is the last piece of evidence. I had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court, then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet. We'll do that next time.